All right, Jacinto versus Orotina group stage. Orotina, it's a 3-1, right? It's a multi-directional post, but it's a stable post. It's not dynamic, right? And the question is whether or not there's a fixo. So interesting that the fixo likes to dribble there, right? If you get him under pressure, make sure that's a press trap for you guys. The fixo dribbling, fixo running, so going to be a press trap as well. Right here we got a Boca. Boca, we got a 3-1. And they wait till their designated post guy gets in the post before they feed him. So it's also a designated post, right? So they're not going to play a guy unless it's that post-up guy. Otherwise, the post is a decoy. Their zone, the defense is a zone. It's a 3-high zone, right? Pressure, cover, and the third guy press. Third guy press, right? Pressure, cover, third guy press. And they have some mixed zone elements. They're going to mark above the ball somewhat, right? So long as it's covered, they then drop it back into a zone. Pressure, covered, press, right? They always have a guy back there. So your options against them is to have a post. You have a multi-directional post, as in you can be on the side, skewed away from the fixo who's defending. You can be on the fixo who's defending. It's got to be a true post, not a dynamic post. It's got to be a true post, right? So option number one is have a post, have a multi-directional post, but a fixed post, right? And know when you want to play that post's feet, right? Or if someone's in there in particular that you want to play his feet, but have the post in. And then you basically orient against the zone. The zone's not going to press, right? So you orient a weave against the zone, and you do your set patterns off the zone, against the zone. Or you go 4-3 against their high zone. So almost like a very shallow 2-2 rectangle. Don't be too wide, don't be too big, but weave, block, and royale exchange to get the 4 against the 3. So here they are, they're setting up their 3-1. They don't like the high pressure. So that high pressure seems to be working against them. There's the zone. And this is the chaser. So it's a box, right? And here he's gonna play the drop check down, drop pass, right? And so this guy, he can't defend above the ball. So as soon as you feel that guy running deep, you got to get deep with him, right? There's not going to be a change here, unless you change ahead of time, which means this guy takes the post, and then this guy takes the runner, right? The main thing about against Jacinto is you can't defend above the ball, especially against the D-Chaser, right? So 3-1, designated post. Designated post is out wide. There they are. Support the post. They tried. And they're in their zone defense. It's 1-2-1 or a 3-high zone defense. And then the question is they have mixed zone elements, right? So they don't have a man mark. So the first guy's not man marking. He just holds his zone. And then he hopes the second guy picks up. Right? So they man mark above the ball, but they also have some strict zonal rules on the first guy. The first guy's gonna hold the zone. Interesting, right? So Orotina does something interesting. They send 2 runners, and that's what eventually gets them. They set 4 back against the 3, and then they send 2 runners, which is basically a royale, right? And it's very difficult for San Jacinto to cover from a zone in that position. So it's almost like a 4-0, but 2 runners are going, which is basically a royale. So that will work, right? That will work against their 3-high zone, because they don't have the guy who's on the ball doesn't mark the first runner going through. He expects a deeper zone player to pick up the first runner. So if you send 2 touch and go, and then you send in touch and go, so the touch player, Toko Mevoy, the touch player goes, and then another guy goes on the same time, right? So it's a 4-0 weave or royal against those three high in the zone. They struggle with it. They play the post, they support the post very well, right? It's a 3-1 or 1-2-1 attack. And then now the Fixo's not, out of the 1-2-1, the Fixo is not a real Fixo, right? So this guy here on the far side has got to start stepping. That's a press trigger. Fine, you mark up on the inside, press and step into the gap. So there's no real Fixo here when they're in a 1-2-1. When they're 3-1, it's a real Fixo. When they're 1-2-1, the guy runs from deep, so they'll be vulnerable. Step in, tuck in, and press. That's a press trigger. See? Tuck in, tuck in. This guy didn't tuck in enough. That could be a goal, right? And then understand it's a press trigger, so these guys should be like, yeah, mark him fine, but then stepping. So basically, when they play too big in the 1-2-1, you can't be big with them. You can't open up that huge space. The huge space in the middle is a press trap, but it's got to be still got to be small. You can't have this massive space in the middle. So when they're in their 2-2, you can't step so high up, especially in a soft zone. So this here, they're 1-2-1 or 2-2. You can't open up the middle like that. There's a post in. The middle's got to be covered, right? I understand there's a press trap in the middle, but even there, like the press trap is late, too late to produce a goal. So if you close the middle and then trap when the Fixo goes, they're going to be in trouble because you have the post covered and they'll be dribbling. So again, it's a 1-3. When they're in the diamond, they tend to dribble. Be aware. It's almost like a trap or a trigger. When they're in a diamond, they give the ball to Fixo, and for some reason he dribbles. That's a trap or a trigger for us. Again, the 2-2, big. Now they do a diagonal from the 2-2, right? So that's the problem. You leave too much space in the middle against a 2-2. We should probably be in a diamond tight. Close the middle. And it almost springs it there. The D-Chazar almost works. So you see the problem. Problem is, you gotta do, if you're gonna press, it's gotta be 2 by 1 by 1 with a press, right? And then you do la cobertura. So the second forward here would then collapse and trap the guy who's checking down. That's la cobertura. And then this forward would loop all the way behind. So he would go with his man, can't defend above the ball. So he's been played through. He's basically got to cover the goalie. He's the second goalie now. The second guy, la cobertura, he's going to cover and slide in, right? And there should be a press trap in the middle, right? So if you're 2 by 1 by 1, the press trap is already there, and this is a shorter step right here. Your press should be 2 by 1 by 1. Otherwise, you're in close the middle, 1-2-1 or 3 high close the middle zone with a press trap in the middle. Again, they play zone and they don't cover. So if you play the post quickly and then you run to support the post, they're very bad at covering. Right? Look at that, committing a foul for no reason. So here they almost got like 4 against the 3. Now they're putting the post in. Yeah, post is mismanaged in this game. So one thing is, if you have difficulty playing the post, just put a post in, right? So you don't end up with this problem here, right? Don't even worry about playing the post. The post is in, right? It holds the defender and there's no counter press or no counter attack, right? So hold that defender back there and just make sure he doesn't counter attack. And then we do pattern play with the 3 guys in the back. And maybe you can slowly check down the post to make him relevant and make it easier to play him. Or you can check him outside to make it easier to play him. But that's got to happen slowly as a post. So they're in a 3-1. 3-1 transition into the 2-2. And again, guys defending above the ball, no cover. So here, guys defending above the ball, that's crazy. You cannot defend above the ball. Can't make a tackle from here. And then, uh-oh. All right, so now we see why. Right, so it's a 3-1 to a 2-2. 3-1 the pass, then they run into a box. They make sure the box is big, hoping that they draw a man coverage downfield, so they draw you into a box. And then they play the check down, they play the diagonal, they play the exchange out of the box. That's the D Chazar.